It's Dr. Glenn, and I would like to talk to you about marketing with delight and surprise, how to change your prospects' emotional state so they'll want to purchase from you today. And I'd like to tell you a little story. Way back in the early 90s, I was such a pimply faced PhD right after graduate school. And the thing about being a psychologist is when you go through graduate school, there's all these people around you. You get used to a lot of camaraderie. There's other guys, there's couples, and there are these team meetings, and you're talking about these interesting issues, and you're kind of delving into the depths of the human soul, and it's a very satisfying experience. It's also, exhausting but very thrilling and definitely not lonely. But as soon as I graduated, good friends were really hard to come by. I was kind of alone with my dog, and Sharon and I were together, of course, but she was working, and it was a very, very different experience. And so when my friend Larry, who was also a psychotherapist, wanted to get to dinner with his wife on a Saturday evening in New Jersey, we were typically very happy because all my friends were working all kinds of hours all over the tri-state area and actually all over the country after that. So Larry said, "Hey, let's have dinner in Englewood, New Jersey." I think it was Englewood, and we couldn't wait to go. So we get on the road in the car. I think this was Sharon's red BMW convertible, and we felt so cool. And the problem was that whoever designed New Jersey must have been on acid because I just don't know how they work out the roads. To this day, when I drive through New Jersey, thank God for GPSs because, you know, you need a connection to NASA to really navigate the New Jersey highways. And Larry wasn't great with directions. I think this was just after 1990, maybe early 1991, and his cell phone didn't really work in the area, and blah blah blah. So we got very, very, very lost on the way to the restaurant, and my brilliant solution was to try and call him, but I couldn't get through to him. And I wound up trying a couple of times and got a wrong number. And there was an answering machine on the number, and I was feeling a little bit desperate. So I figured, what the hell? Let me leave a message. so so I leave this frustrated message saying, "Hi, this is Glenn Livingston, and I know you don't know me, and I know you're not Larry, but we were really looking forward to meeting him and his wife for dinner at the name of the restaurant. And I was really hoping you knew where it was and that you'd take the time to call me back and let me know how to get there." And I just kind of made a passionate appeal for help. And about 10 minutes later, when we were about to give up, the guy actually calls back and walks me through exactly how to get to the restaurant from exactly where I was. Very, very concerned, really nice guy. Then he tells me what a great choice the restaurant was, and I was going to be really happy that I made it there, and I shouldn't give up. And he even told me what to order. I think it was clams pasalipo. I'm having trouble remembering exactly what that was, but I know it was a great restaurant, and I was incredibly delighted and surprised. Um, but not only that, in the middle of coffee and dessert, the guy and his wife walk into the restaurant and introduce themselves to Sharon and I and Larry and Patty, his wife. And I was totally, totally delighted and surprised. And my point here is that your customer is lost when they're searching. I always say people like to solve, they don't like to search. They're grasping for directions to get from where they are to the place that they want to be, from the problem to the solution that your product or service offers. And it's your job to unexpectedly delight them with benefits over and above what they might expect for having taken a chance on you. And you want to delight and surprise them at every turn. So the minute they see your teaser ad, they should say, "That's not what I was expecting." And by the way, all the way through your sales process, if they say, "Well, I've heard that before," you're sunk. So you might want to go through every piece of your sales letter and say, "Are people saying they've heard this before?" That kills your sales. On your landing page, you need to over deliver on the promise you made in the teaser ad. And I can't tell you how frequently I see a discongruity. I made up that word, but I like it. A discongruity between the teaser ad and the landing page. If you're part of the club at Glenn Sent Me, I'm sure you've seen a whole month's work of my getting up on a soapbox about that and showing specific examples. When they first experience your ethical bribe and your follow-ups, cheat sheets, MP3s, videos, whatever you're giving them, for in exchange for having a relationship with you, they need to be delighted and surprised. I'm sure that you had no idea how much valuable material that you were going to get when you signed up for my email, probably years ago for most of you. Um, there should be value these days actually built into your sales pages. We're just a couple of weeks from launching the total conversion code, but I'm going to tell you right now that a lot of you are going to increase your conversion by just reading the sales letter. There's going to be a half a dozen to a dozen things in there all by themselves that will delight and surprise you and change the way that you're thinking about conversion just by reading the letter. To the product and the unadvertised bonuses. And of course, this applies to service, applies, doubly, triply to every element of your service. So you have to delight and surprise them at every turn. Now, so the rule is you want to provide unexpectedly good benefits in exchange for your customers' willingness to take a chance when they're lost. Provide unexpectedly good benefits in exchange for your customers' willingness to take a chance when they're lost. And you need to infuse your marketing with delightful and surprising stories connected to your audience's needs. You've probably noticed that I'm doing this much more than I used to at the urging of Terry Dean. And the reason for this is that before they are ready to buy from you, if you consistently delight and surprise them with stories that put them in a delighted and surprised mood, that change their emotional state, that take them from an experience of frustration and confusion and overwhelm and sometimes even anger, and who in this world with everything going on today isn't feeling frustrated and confused and angry and overwhelmed. You take them from that state to a what Gary Halbert would call patches of light. It's like a moment in the sun. It's like a brief respite or an oasis in the desert where they get away from their crazy world, and they start to associate with you with that over and over and over again. And I'm sure you can see that this is the residue of my branding experience. Now, here's the real important point of this video, and if you're watching carefully, you'll recognize that I just did this with you. I just told you a story from my own life where I was incredibly delighted and surprised, and I made the connection to delight and surprise in marketing. Well, here's something you don't know. Until I got to this slide as I was preparing this, I really did, well, not this slide, but maybe just a couple of slides ago, I didn't know what the connection was. All I knew was that this was really a delightful story. I was talking to Sharon the other day, and for some reason we remembered it, and we both just kind of lit up and smiled, and I said, I got to get that in my journal. That is going to be one of my delightful and surprising stories. And so the thing to remember is that the story comes before the marketing connection. If you sit down and you try to say to yourself, how can I tell a delightful and surprising story and connect that to what my market wants to buy? And obviously your market is not all about marketing. For most of you, your market's going to be about, weight loss or gardening or, selling pond scum to worm farmers or whatever you happen to do. And I know a lot of you are traditional e-commerce marketers too. I don't mean to leave you out. If you try to make that connection, you're going to sit down and stare at a blank page. You're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to be able to do it. So the trick is to think about the story first and keep a list of delightful and surprising stories and take the risk of organizing them and putting them into writing. And some of them, as you do that, after they're all in writing and you review them over and over again, they will come to fruition and the natural connection to what your market offers will be clear to you. So don't worry about connecting it to your audience now. Just give yourself permission to fully recall and experience your positive memories first and write down as much as you can think about it. Then and only then do you begin looking for the link. So speaking of links, I want you all, if you haven't already, to go over to totalconversioncode.com. We are just, we're just waiting for the product to get out of packaging and everything else is pretty much ready. And we're going to be having a webinar to launch the product sometime in the next week, 2, maybe 3 at the most. And you will get the best pricing and first notification. You'll make sure to get part of the first set of inventory if you go to totalconversioncode.com and register for the early bird notification list. You'll definitely get an extra $100 off as compared to what everybody else will get, even the other not so early birds. So that's totalconversioncode.com. That is totalconversioncode.com, and Go out and market with delight and surprise for me. Let me know what you think. Thanks.